The U.S. and Israel reached an agreement to free, then deport, some 200 Hamas terrorists still trapped in underground tunnels on the Israel-controlled side of the Gaza Strip. The problem now, no country has agreed yet to take in the terrorists.
Any decision that is made, it's made in partnership, in full collaboration with President Trump and his team. Of course, these meetings are ongoing. We are working together with the Trump administration under this plan every step of the way.
In an effort to maintain the ceasefire, the U.S. reportedly is planning to build a $500 million military facility along the Gaza-Israel border. Right now, the U.S. military presence is rather slim, with around 200 American soldiers. Plans for a Palestinian state continue to take shape. French President Emmanuel Macron met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Paris with promises of a new committee to further the process.
This committee will be responsible for working on all legal, constitutional, institutional, and organizational aspects. It will contribute to drafting a new constitution, a project that President Abbas has presented to me, and will aim to finalize all the conditions necessary for the establishment of such a state of Palestine.
In southern Lebanon, the Hezbollah chief says the near-daily IDF strikes cannot continue. Israel has been pounding the region in an effort to rid the terror group of weapons and destroy militant infrastructure. Hezbollah has defied efforts by the Lebanese government to disarm. In Israel, thousands gathered for a funeral 11 years in the making. With music and eulogies, IDF soldier Hadar Golden was laid to rest.
Hadar.
Hadar, we waited for you for 11 years. That is a long time, a very long time. I truly have no explanation for how we did it, except that in every moment when we almost sank, there was someone in the family who would jump up and say, "But what would Hadar say?"
Lieutenant Golden was killed in Gaza in 2014. His remains finally returned as part of the ceasefire deal. Paul Petit, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is joining us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what's the reaction in Israel's government to this latest push for a Palestinian state?
Well, Ephraim, we know what Israel has said in the recent past. Prime Minister Netanyahu said in September there'll be no Palestinian state, and he says he has a clear message for those leaders who are recognizing a Palestinian state after October 7th, and that they're rewarding terror with an enormous prize. And he also said that it's not going to happen. There'll be no Palestinian state west of the Jordan. However, President Macron and others, they're pushing for that. And actually, given the circumstances right now, it looks like there might be the possibility that some nations are going to want that Palestinian state to be in the land right now that's controlled by Hamas at 47% of Gaza on the other side of what's now the yellow line. And so that it appears that part of point 19 in President Trump's 20-point plan is the aspirations of Palestinian statehood. So there does seem to be some effort by the nations to go ahead and push for a Palestinian state. However, here in Israel, there's no taste for, especially after October 7th, for a state for the Palestinians.
Can a Palestinian state exist without Israel's support?
Well, it's hard to see that right now. The Knesset has voted recently against it, and the majority of Israelis are against it. But as I mentioned, could it be forced on Israel inside the yellow line right now? Most nations have really come out in support of a Palestinian state. And as I said, number 19, and this is what point 19 in President Trump's 20-point plan says, while the reconstruction of Gaza advances and the reform program of the Palestinian Authority is faithfully carried out, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspirations of the Palestinian people. But this is a major, major dividing line, Ephraim, between Israel and all nations like France, or even this point 19 in President Trump's point plan. You know, they've been asking for reformation and for changes in the Palestinian Authority for decades, and it really hasn't happened. One major example is the pay-to-slay program, where the Palestinian pays millions of dollars per year to terrorists that have killed or wounded Israelis.
The head of Hezbollah is warning Israel its near daily strikes, quote, cannot continue. What could Hezbollah do?
Well, they say the ceasefire only applies to what's called south of the Litani River. That's the geographical barrier dividing southern and northern Lebanon. They say they won't disarm. They're going to increase, they hope, their arsenal, which is being supplied by Iran. They're also talking about actually manufacturing their own weapons. They say the arms are necessary for self-defense. So it remains to be seen. Now, part of the ceasefire agreement, Ephraim, was that Israel could hit Hezbollah for any offenses or violations of that ceasefire. And that's what they've been doing on a daily basis. Hezbollah operatives have been killed. Weapons caches have been hit in southern Lebanon, even north of the Litani River. So there seems to be coming to a breaking point between Hezbollah and Israel.
So is Hezbollah still refusing to disarm, and will Israel keep attacking until it does?
Well, I think Israel is committed to attacking that to make sure that Hezbollah doesn't get to be the kind of threat it was before October 7th and October 8th when Hezbollah entered the war. Washington, on its case, wants to disarm Hezbollah, and they also want to stop the flow of funds from Iran to Hezbollah. For example, U.S. Treasury officials have been inside Lebanon, and they're saying that there's been more than $1 billion from Iran to Hezbollah since January. Now, we know Hezbollah is nothing like it was before October 7th and 8th. It's greatly weakened, but it has survived. And as we've said, Israel's been hitting Hezbollah daily since the ceasefire agreement, which does allow it to strike imminent threats. So this is coming to a head right now, Ephraim. And we also understand there might be a point where the IDF actually goes in full force to go ahead and disarm Hezbollah, since Lebanon or the Lebanese army don't seem to be able or willing to do it.
Do we know what will happen to these Hamas terrorists in the tunnels in Gaza if no country will take them in?
Well, it's certainly in flux right now in negotiations. Israel may insist that they surrender and that they not be allowed to roam freely, or just essentially keep them contained. Some have advocated maybe sealing the tunnels, but there could be a compromise deal where they actually will be allowed to escape but disarmed. But we'll see. It's very highly symbolic for both Hamas and Israel, Ephraim, and it's really may set a precedent for the future security and political decisions inside Gaza.
Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, we thank you so much for your insights today. Look forward to talking with you more in the days ahead.